is Steve Olson and special guest R. Wayne Steigler. The reason that we're coming on with this special broadcast today is because we're noticing some pretty acute phenomenon. And what I mean by acute is kind of real-time things we need to pay attention to. So without further ado, I want to start this video by just showing you from the South Pole. We actually captured a video this time of the green discharging object. They stopped allowing access after the 2nd of May, so it's now that camera is down or taken out, so we couldn't get images from today. Check this out. I think this will be interesting to everybody. So basically this green discharge, and then that is not the sun, by the way. The sun is not shining down there at this time. And then it just goes on in the PM hours as well. So like an all-day event, Wayne. Thoughts? What are your thoughts on that, Wayne?
Well, I think it's becoming overwhelming now, Steve, that something is unfolding. And, I was thinking about this earlier. Technology works both ways. It gives the authorities, the guys who control the telescopes and what have you, more power to see more things. But that technology also, they can't hide the footprint. And that's what we're seeing, Steve. And it's people need to wake up, my friend.
All right, so you can see here, everybody, that we have up 3 compasses. And I believe they're all pointing north right now, because you know where north is on your property, Wayne, I assume, right?
Yeah, actually, these are all pointing northwest.
Northwest. I'm talking about the reticules on the top.
Yes, that exactly. That's north, where you see the
All right, and make sure that you stay close to the microphone when you talk, and then that way you don't fade in and out. Then on the bottom, of course, everybody knows what the compass app looks like. Now, Wayne, what are you doing? What is this experiment trying to say?
Well, what we're trying to prove here and document is the fact that this is a multiple instrument that is verifying that north is not north anymore. As you know, Steve, we got alerted to this last night and began to see this phenomenon. And this morning, it was still ongoing, which is very troublesome. When you think about it, that this type of wobble is now so persistent and so constant. And so, Steve, I challenge anyone to show us what we're doing wrong.
I think that's a good place to start. So walk us through. I know. Do you want me to find a picture with the time on it? One of the more recent pictures. Okay. Let's go back to. Well, I don't know if it's going to let me do this. All right. Why don't you just walk us through what we have right here, and then what I'll do is I'll kill this page, and then we'll come back to it.
Sure. So what we have here, going from the left, moving to the right, is we have 3 compasses. The 2 on the left-hand side, those are actually military grade compasses. Those are sapphire bearings. And so, as you know, Steve, being former military yourself, those, if there's something going on, they're going to tell you. And then the one on the far right is what I always call the one that I always carry in my pocket wherever I go. And then, of course, we have the iPhone app. Here again, this time where we documented this on April 25th. Here again, we're now showing a correlation between an electronic device to exactly what the old manual devices that have served sailors for 1,000 years.
Okay, I trust the equipment that you're using is valid. I can verify what he said about the 2 compasses on the left. Those are war fighting compasses right there.
So what we have here is clear evidence of either something pulling on the magnetic pole, or something has perturbated our orbit to such the extent that the inner core, to me, and this is just my opinion, is showing tremendous signs of instability of keeping its bearings.
All right, so in summary, what we have is three compasses pointed. So what I mean by that is these reticules right now are pointing to what you know to be true north, right?
Yeah, that is correct.
So here they are pointing true north. This compass is pointing magnetic north to be almost 40 degrees off.
Correct.
42 is what I think you said, right?
Yes, sir.
And similarly, we're getting the same result. Now, sometimes I find with the, do you notice how this is why we have to get off Facebook, because I think whenever we start talking about stuff, this is what happens. So that's why we're on we actually downloaded some software, Wayne and I, to actually do encrypted sessions now. So thank you, subscribers, for all the support you're allowing us to get up to speed where we don't have to be limited by these encumbrances. Anyway, so, what you guys are seeing here is proof that the magnetic north has taken a strong pull to obviously this what would be normally the north and west position. So I believe that we're being pulled by our heads basically that way. Or it could also be the south pole is being tugged from the bottom as well. We haven't figured that part out yet. I don't know exactly how we're tilting, Wayne. Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, if you just look at the simple math, the Earth and its mass, in order for this to be happening, Steve, there is either a force that has to be many times greater than the force of the Earth itself that is either pushing us, pulling us, or something in between.
Great. All right. Well, thank you, Wayne. I appreciate you jumping on the broadcast with us for this short report. We'll have you back on the show soon.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
All right. This next one comes to us from Italy, May 4th. So it was, earlier today. Okay. Now, what I want you to kind of pay particular attention to are these large, huge rings in the back of the sun. Okay? Now, we're going to try to time lapse this out, but I have a feeling that that is the actual size of one of the planets or one of the bodies. And what we are seeing when we see all these little dots and all these things moving around are actually just moons of this object. That's my theory. Tell me if you think I'm off my rocker, but, well, many of you will tell me I'm off my rocker. Tell me if I'm wrong about that theory when you look at it closely with Samuel's information in your head. All right, let's go to the next thing. This is North America. We got a yellow hue down here. This is a lens flare. And we've got a very interesting blue lens flare. But it seems like the flare itself is coming from more the blue object, or the ultraviolet, like it's going here, as opposed to from the sun, doesn't it? Just kind of look at it. Anyway, maybe that's just me too. Everybody remembers Roy, right? Well, Roy did another segment for me, and I just need to get him on the radar here because he's caught a couple of excellent shots. This one is from Norfolk on May 1st. Very clear day, which gives us the ability to see this humongous ring here, which now I suspect to be the leading edge of a planet, or these are planets with a moon. Some theorize that this is Hercules. I can't pronounce it, so don't ask me to pronounce it right. Please don't be snotty and yell at me. Anyway, next one. Again, this is just an interesting, shot that we're starting to see and look at these rings up in the sky now in a different way. Again, this is that close-up look at this thing, and just reversed out so that you can see, that we're looking and dealing with objects that are up there, not with lens flares or other lens phenomena. I think it's fascinating. And then finally, this is just like May 3rd, yesterday. Look at this. Unbelievable. And the reason that this one is so unbelievable is because this actually shows what appears to be what would be a proper, I think, reflection of the sunlight off of this object. And as opposed to just some kind of a weird, ethereal ball in space, I'm starting to come to believe that what we're looking at is like a huge brown dwarf right there. I could be wrong, but I'm often wrong. And then from May 3rd, looking at more closely this blue object and these two smaller, objects, and then reversed out to prove that they are not lens flares. So thanks, Roy, for all your help, and we love you, man. And everybody give Roy a quick prayer right now. So now let's take a look at the photos that we've collected over the last 24 hours that I think are compelling. Here's a little clearer view of what Wayne was trying to illustrate. He has these reticules pointed to the north, and you can see it much more clearly now that the magnetic is going way far off, where out of band for what magnetic north should be in this band here. So you can say that this is kind of a I don't know, um, this is where magnetic north should be. That's all I can say, guys, okay? And I actually have used this type of compass, and I'm also a diver, scuba diver, and I've used compasses underwater. I know them very, very well. This is not what they should be saying, okay? Oh my. This was an interesting photograph, only in the sense that look at this humongous potential planetary structure. And again, here we're seeing, this, what I believe to be a flare over here, but all kinds of interesting shapes in the sky. We've got, I don't know, some kind of an orb here, if you look closely. And again, these are just huge, huge objects. Here's somebody just playing around with Sam's theory. I'm not sure that's, it could be, though, because what you've got is you've got a lit area here, and then you've got the dark areas over here. So I could see how that possibly could be. Now, this is interesting because in Vancouver, Canada, when they were taking these pictures on the 2nd, this is it seems to be the side of something that's being, illuminated, and it's 6:30 a.m., okay? And we'll come back to a couple other examples of that. Sharon here doing her excellent work, just highlighting, and I think most importantly and most interestingly, this Jupiter type object with potentially a moon in front of it. Here's 6:45 a.m. So still seeing that object just above the sunrise. Dun, 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 dun. And I'm not trying to make light of it, but oh my, oh my, oh my. I'm afraid to look in the sky now, to be honest with you. What happened to stereo on the 3rd? We got this result. I cannot explain why. I have no reasons why, but I'd like to hear anybody's, especially somebody smart's, opinion on what we're seeing here. Potentially, it could have been something passing by the camera. That's the only thing I can come up with. 6:40 a.m. This is what Wayne was talking about last night. We were working with Trish and Wayne, who are part of the group that we have in Colorado, and we were looking at the electron flux, and this is from the Korean satellite. I don't know if the U.S. satellite showed this yet. I didn't watch Solar Suspicious Observers today. Yeah, I watch the Suspicious Observers every day, but I, like Thor, I'm like, how can you say that there's low sun activity when you see these coronal ejections and filaments busting off? Like, I'm like, and then seeing this kind of behavior, I don't call this a quiet sun. I call this a very active sun. This is electron flux, and it shows the particles, and that's danger zone area up in the top there, guys. Okay. And then the fluctuation of it also tells us that something may be happening. Oh man, look at that, 6:40 a.m. 6:30 a.m. So it's I know I don't have those in order, but you can see what I'm trying to say. Here's that blast of light that comes out of the side of the huge orb that we've noticed before behind the oh yeah. Wayne wants to make sure it's May 4th. He documented it 10:45 a.m. But again, we also were looking at that last night together, like I said. When I see rainbow or something like this now, my whole perspective is changing a little bit. I just it just means something to me now. I don't know why there would be a rainbow like this. I just don't know why. So now I'm starting to say, is that some kind of a projection or of some other light source? I don't know. Here's a large orb caught on a webcam, and we can see it when it's reversed out. You can see it a little easier, but I'll draw in on it so you can take a look at it yourself a little bit. This whole job is changing every day. I mean, this is the recent. I also had the Sun Halo again yesterday. It's a consistent size. My Sun Halo, like the one here that we see in California, does it's about the same relationship to the sun and so forth. But it seems like when you go to other parts in the world, that large reddish orb that surrounds the sun is different sizes. It's just something that I'm noticing. That's all. And here again, Deacon, we see the huge, orb there. I don't know what to say about this anymore. I'm freaking out. Um, but that's the point that we were trying to make yesterday, right? I mean, we don't want to be the ones that are freaking out. We have to be here for our families, guys. And I don't know if somebody actually got a good picture here of Mars, because Mars has been bright and huge in the sky lately. I don't know if you noticed that. So I'm going to just write this one off as Mars, unless somebody wants to argue with me on it. This is just interesting because we got, you know, you tell me which one the lens flare is. Just more chemtrails. Now, a lot of people are saying that these are water droplets on the. Come on, man, those are not water droplets. Okay, to me, what we're seeing is a very, from France in this particular situation, we're seeing huge bodies behind in the sky, in the sky. But you got to see 360 sky, and you have to be ready to accept that this, and this might be planets. Okay, as well, or moons. This is BBC weather. Does anybody recognize this globe? I mean, is this supposed to be Japan? Is that no? That can't be Japan. Uh, to me, it seems like they're showing us a planet maybe that has life on it other than Earth, and maybe it's like right behind us. I don't know. More of the strange, not the bug. I'm talking about these rainbow shapes, and then furthermore, this is becoming more of a distinct shape. This is not a lens flare. This is an object. I'm going with object. Look at this. She does the thumb test so that we can see the orb, this large circle. Some call it the Empire orb. So that's the show for today. Special alert, knowing that we've got this big situation going on right now with the magnetics. Keep an eye on that stuff. Listen for also other researchers on the subject. Compare notes. And at the end of the day, man, I need to let you know that Jesus is a saver and he's an acceptor. And you need to very much consider mixing your awareness of Nibiru with a very strong foundation. And with that, I will leave you with those words, and I'll talk to you soon.